On The Young and the Restless, tomorrow, Tuesday, June 24th, 2025, Chance and Cain discuss their next moves. We've got the photo spoilers of what's coming up. Nikki was horrified to think that Nick and Sharon could get back together on the trip. Is she still worried about that? Or has Cain Ashby's big reveal given them more to talk about? Cain is a welcoming host, but are his guests as gracious? Michael and Lauren arrived late to the party. How did they feel about his big reveal? Or did they already know? There must be a reason Cain wanted them there, and he already has his own attorney. Damien is still unclear why his former boss wanted him at the party. Does he have a role to play in his business ventures? Or is this more personal? Damien is learning a lot more about Cain than he could have ever imagined, and now he's wondering if his boss knew all along who he was and how he was related to the Winters family. Abby may have arrived at a serious moment, but she knows how to keep things light. Jack, Diane, Sally, Billy, Sharon, and Chance have plenty of questions for Cain, but will they like his answers? Victor claims to have known all along who Aristotle Dumas really was, but if that was the case, did Michael know too? Does Victor really know more than everyone else, or is he pretending to be one step ahead at all times? No one seemed to really know what they were invited for, but one person does. Well, two, if you count Cain. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Pulse Canvas. It's me, Julie here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching. So let's dive into today's video. On the Monday, June 23rd episode of The Young and the Restless, Cain reflects on how Colin's death affected him. Guests speculate about how Cain got his wealth, and Lily vows to get answers. In Nice, Cain's guests demanded to know why Cain had asked everyone to be there. Cain claimed that he'd invited them for a wonderful visit to the Riviera to meet the man calling himself Aristotle Dumas. Cain admitted that the past year had been exhausting, and he decided to retire Dumas and return to Genoa City as Cain Ashby. Lily commanded that Cain end the secrets and games and tell them what it was all about. Cain explained that many of them had inspired him over the years, and the party was a way of thanking them. Damien wondered why Cain hadn't put his real name on the invitations and thrown the event closer to home. Cain acknowledged that he'd let people down, and he'd been afraid no one would show up. Cain looked forward to speaking with each of his guests one-on-one while he made their time there unforgettable. Lily ran out, with Devon and Damien following her. Victor insisted on speaking with Cain immediately. After Victor and Cain stepped away from the party, Phyllis understood why Lily had met with Cain first, but she asked why Amanda hadn't simply told her. Amanda asserted that she hadn't been about to defy her boss, but Phyllis countered that Amanda's boss was Cain, and not a billionaire businessman. Amanda clucked that Phyllis hadn't been paying attention, and Phyllis realized Amanda respected Cain. Phyllis remained determined to get in on the ground floor of Cain's master plan. Phyllis told Nick that she was still on a mission, especially since she knew the guy behind Dumas. Nick couldn't remember Phyllis and Cain being tight. Phyllis chirped that she and Cain weren't enemies, and she respected someone who wanted to reinvent themselves. Phyllis figured that Cain was the same guy with a different name and net worth. Nick warned that something had changed, but the question was how much. Audra noted that Cain was easy on the eyes, and nothing like Kyle had predicted. Kyle recalled that Cain had worked for Jabot, but hadn't been a mogul then. Kyle doubted that anyone but Lily had even thought about Cain. Audra begged Kyle to tell her everything he knew about Cain for the sake of their competition. Kyle guessed that she wanted to know if Cain was single, but she swore she was happy with Nate. Audra teased Kyle for getting jealous. Jack voiced surprise that Billy hadn't had any idea that Cain was Dumas. Billy muttered that there wasn't a family group chat, and he explained to Sally that Cain had used a fake name when pretending to be his long-lost half-brother. Billy groused that his mother adored Cain, so there was a sibling rivalry even though the men weren't blood, and Jill had pitted him and Cain against one another. Jack remembered a time when Billy and Cain hadn't been at odds. Sally was confused because Billy had talked to Dumas but hadn't mentioned Cain. Billy admitted that he hadn't connected the voice, and he maintained that Cain wanted Chancellor for himself. Jack thought it was just the tip of the iceberg. Diane argued that there were too many people there with no connection to Chancellor. Billy contemplated whether Cain had been trying to see how Billy felt about Jill. Billy referred to Catherine's will, in which she'd left Chancellor to Victor, but wanted Cain to run it. Billy speculated that perhaps Cain thought he deserved the company. Phyllis intruded on the conversation upon hearing the mention of Chancellor. Phyllis chided Billy for failing to mention his big brother when talking about his conversations with Dumas. Phyllis imagined that Cain had been too busy counting his money to help Billy get Chancellor back. Jack considered it a good thing because Abbott Communications deserved Billy's full attention. Phyllis taunted that every day could be Billy's "bring your boo to work" day, and Sally pulled Billy away. Phyllis asked if Jack thought Cain was after Chancellor. Jack replied that he couldn't rule anything out. Sally suggested that she and Billy go home and launch Abbott Communications by breaking the story about Dumas's real identity before anyone else beat them to it. Billy sensed that there was something more going on than what Cain was saying, and he vowed to find out what it was. Jack complained to Nikki about how Victor had stolen Cain's thunder. Nikki believed Victor had done it so Cain would know Victor had the upper hand. Jack cautioned that he wouldn't count Cain out yet. Lily, Devin, and Damien returned to the train. She couldn't believe Cain was the person they'd been talking about for months. Lily wailed that what made it worse was that she and Cain had been married in France, yet he'd led her there under false pretenses. Lily blasted Victor for leading them into an ambush again. Devin asked if Lily would have made the trip solely to find out how Cain had really become a tycoon. Lily indicated that Cain had never been that wealthy before, nor had he run his own company or shown single-minded ambition. Devin recounted that Cain's father had been a crime boss in Australia, and Damien surmised Cain had learned at his daddy's knee. Lily conceded that Cain hadn't wanted to be anything like his father. Devin reasoned that 6 years could change someone. Devin inquired whether the twins had said anything about Cain's wealth. Lily reported that she hadn't heard anything, and she and Cain had only talked briefly about the kids until they'd no longer been on good terms. Lily relayed that she and Cain had been civil until he'd crossed a line she couldn't forgive. She explained that she and Cain had been in LA to help Maddie through a personal crisis, and she and Cain had gone for coffee once their daughter had gone back to school. Through a flashback, Lily told the story. At a coffee shop, Cain credited Lily for getting Maddie through a tough time, and they discussed the importance of kids having a parent they could trust. Cain hesitantly informed Lily that he'd reconnected with Colin, who had turned his life around and was helping with Cain's business dealings. Lily condemned Colin for destroying their family and hurting people she loved. Cain swore that his father regretted it, and he confided that Colin was sick and didn't know how much time he had left. Lily confessed to Devin and Damien that something had felt off to her at the time, and the more Cain spoke, the more uncomfortable she'd become. Lily remembered the man she'd married being loving, protective, and nothing like Colin. Lily mused that things had been good for a while, but there had been no going back once they'd gone wrong. She continued recalling. Lily vehemently opposed the twins seeing Colin, who'd once planned to have them kidnapped. Cain called his father a sick old man who had changed. Lily spat that she'd given Colin the benefit of the doubt until he'd tried to steal Devin's money, and that had been unforgivable. Cain pleaded that all Colin had left were regrets, and it was important to him that the kids know his father. Colin contended that people deserved forgiveness, but Lily countered that forgiveness needed to be earned. Lily ordered Cain not to drag their kids into it, and she spat that she didn't want to see him again. Cain reached for her hand, but she pulled away. Lily questioned whether Cain had learned anything over the years, if he'd thought he could trust their kids with Colin. She added that she pitied Cain for being so gullible, and she wondered how it was even possible that he'd been building an empire as Aristotle Dumas the whole time. Damien inquired whether Cain had ever mentioned the Count of Monte Cristo. She recalled that Cain knew Charlie loved the book, and it made it sicker that he'd used his alias like a clue in a game. Devin and Damien suggested they head home, but Lily realized she couldn't leave until she knew everything there was to know for the sake of her children. She resolved to find out everything Cain had done over the past 6 years. Meanwhile, Cain offered Victor something to drink, noting that he'd stocked Victor's signature tequila. Victor ordered Cain to cut the bull and name what he wanted from Victor and his family. Victor compared the elaborate show to something Colin would do, and he inquired whether Colin was behind bars. Cain reported that his father had died 6 months earlier, and he'd been with Colin in the end. Victor said he was sorry about Cain's dad. Cain shared that he hadn't told anyone because he hadn't wanted to hear how the world was better off. But Colin hadn't been the same man in the end. Cain was grateful that he'd made peace with his father, and he admitted that his ascent to power wouldn't have been possible without Colin. Victor assumed Cain's empire was built on theft and dishonesty. Cain insisted that Arabesque was legitimate, and his dad had wanted it that way. Cain recounted that he'd found out Colin had been ill 6 years earlier, and his father had wanted to make things right. Cain swore that all the money Colin had swindled had been given back, and they'd sold some land Colin had owned to invest in cryptocurrency. Cain was glad that his father had seen him get the success Colin had chased in the wrong ways, but he regretted that he hadn't been able to save Colin's life. Victor applauded Cain for amassing an enormous fortune in a short time. Cain announced that he was ready to give up the businesses under Dumas's ownership. Victor surmised Cain had gathered everyone there to auction off his properties. Cain clarified that he was only offering them to Victor. Cain explained that his mortality had hit him when he'd lost his father, and he'd thought about what to do with the rest of his time on Earth. Cain recalled that he'd always been running from something when he'd needed to start over before, but there would be no more hiding that time. Cain intended to make a fresh start for all the right reasons, and it meant going a new direction in business. Things are changing fast these days over at The Young and the Restless. First, we found out that Billy Flynn is playing Aristotle Dumas. Then, we found out that Dumas is really Cain Ashby, the character previously played by Daniel Goddard. Then, we found out that Connor Floyd, aka Chance, is moving to Days of Our Lives to take over Flynn's role of Chad. And it turned out that the show was just getting warmed up. In the June 23rd episode of Young and Restless, Cain disclosed to Victor, of all people, that his father, Colin Atkinson, had died 6 months ago. What's more, we learned that as the villain had neared the end, illness had changed his perspective, to the point that he and Cain had been able to make peace. General Hospital legend Tristan Rogers originated the role of Colin in late 2010. You'll recall, and spent the next few years front and center in Genoa City. Not only did the conniver woo and wed Jill Abbott, he was reunited with former wife Genevieve and committed one crime after another. He even sexually harassed Esther. Well, here's a twist we're pretty sure nobody saw coming. Days of Our Lives and Young and Restless are swapping stars. What does that mean? Our sister site Deadline reports that Connor Floyd is about to join the cast of the Salem set Sudser as a recast of Chad DeMira. This comes as Floyd's Young and Restless character, Chance, is about to show up in that show's big summer storyline, which centers on Cain Ashby, now played by Billy Flynn, who until recently was playing Chad. Confusing, right? And it will get even more so thanks to Days of Our Lives' super advanced shooting schedule. That means that for at least the next few months, Flynn will be appearing on both of the Sudsers. In fact, he's likely to continue doing so until sometime in 2026. Meanwhile, although Floyd is set to start taping the Peacock soap this week, he won't actually appear on screen until, you guessed it, sometime next year. Certainly, the timing is a tad odd. After hardly appearing on screen at all over the past few months, Floyd's Chance will this week find himself caught up in the intrigue unfolding in France. On the plus side, this should give the actor plenty of time to pick Flynn's brain about the part he'll soon be stepping into. Want one more confusing little factoid? The characters currently being played by the men on Young and Restless were once father and son. Yes, there was a time when Cain pretended to be Philip Chancellor, Chance's dad, so that the real Philip could continue to play dead. Meanwhile, proving himself a class act, Flynn posted an Instagram story congratulating Floyd. "Chad is in good hands," he wrote. "You're gonna crush it, man." We've reached out to Young and Restless to find out how the show will handle Floyd's exit. But as of publication, Time had not yet received a response. While the show could recast, the character could also easily be written off. Might the mystery currently unfolding in Cain's maze wind up having a body count? A look at some of the memorable outfits from Dumas's party. Aristotle Dumas' party was quite the buzz on The Young and the Restless. Although the storyline of Cain's return was the big headline, The fashion also had everyone talking. Genoa City's elite were dressed to the nines, and these were some of our favorite outfits. Y&R's fashionista Sally certainly turned heads at Dumas's party. The redhead brought the wow factor in a green print cutout maxi dress. She proved she was ready for summertime fun in this outfit, and hopefully we'll be seeing more of this style for Miss Spectra. Amanda has been serving as Dumas, Cain's attorney. With the party being a big affair where business was to be discussed, Amanda dressed appropriately for the occasion. The attorney looked powerful in a white pantsuit that she accessorized with sparkling jewelry. Amanda showed she was ready to take charge with the partygoers. Audra is putting on quite the show for Kyle in France. Her outfits are enough to send the Abbott heir's heart racing. For the grand event, Audra looked stunning in a one-shoulder, coral and white dress. Kyle's been able to resist temptation so far, but seeing Audra in that dress might have him caving in. Lily opted for a royal blue maxi dress for the big occasion. Although Ms. Winters was dressed for comfort for the affair, she was far from it. Upon learning that her ex-husband Cain is Dumas, Lily was feeling blue. Genoa City power couple Jack and Diane definitely win Best Dressed Couple. The Jabot CEO looked dapper in a gray suit and black shirt. However, he was upstaged by his wife, who looked beautiful in a black and white long-sleeved dress. Nate might as well start packing. Were we the only ones who caught how Audra's eyes lit up when Kyle told her about Cain Ashby's newfound wealth on the June 23rd episode of The Young and the Restless? Yeah? Didn't think so. Our girl knows a good prospect when she sees one, and we think she's just seen one. After a brief fling with Noah Newman, Audra stopped playing with children and moved into the big leagues, teaming up with Tucker McCall. Sure, that went wrong, but we bet she learned a lot. At the moment, Audra seems to have regressed, but that's only because Victor hinged funding for her new company on Audra seducing Kyle away from Claire. Yeah, Audra slept with Kyle of her own volition while he was separated from Summer, but since then, she's learned that he'll never be the man she needs, or deserves. In Audra's eyes, Kyle is a loser. He's good as a tool, but not as the final goal. Right now, she's playing house with Nate, and when Kyle called her out on a sudden interest in Cain, she emphatically denied it. But come on! In some ways, Nate is an even worse long-term bet than Kyle. Kyle may be ineffective with delusions of grandeur, but at least he comes from a wealthy family. Nate is ineffective with delusions of grandeur, and no fallback plan. Andy seems headed back for Genoa City, where ex-wife Lily wants nothing to do with him, which means he's footloose and fancy-free. Cain isn't going to want to be lonely on those cold Wisconsin evenings, is he? Mariah blindsided Tessa with a split that has us reacting. Mariah's shocking decision on The Young and the Restless is this week's messiest move. She refuses to share her secret with Tessa. Rather, she would rather have their relationship crash and burn. Mariah has kept her distance from Tessa. She doesn't want to reveal what happened during her business trip. Mariah got close to an older man who was traumatized by being groomed by Ian. Mariah said that what she did would make him proud. Obviously, there's more to the story. Still, she won't reveal what happened that fearful night. Instead, Mariah asked Tessa for a separation. Though she still loved her, it was not enough to fix their relationship. Mariah had already ruined it. Tessa ended up confused. She didn't understand why Mariah was ending their marriage instead of working on it. Tessa and Mariah have overcome a lot over the years. Even Tessa had a dark side, but she has become reformed. She's the person that other people turn to for advice. But Mariah feels that she can't move forward. This mistake will haunt her for the rest of her life. She feels that she needs the space to process what happened that night. It's a messy move because she's not involving her wife. Tessa is likely to understand what happened and why it happened, which could bring them closer together. It would prove that they could overcome anything. They could use this to work on their marriage and come out stronger. Instead, it'll bring them further apart. Taraya might not even come back from this. We could see Tessa ending up with Daniel, which will cause more trouble than it's worth. Like Mariah, Daniel has been haunted by his past. He's hoping that playing guitar will help him process his emotions. We could see Tessa drawing closer to him because he needs someone to help him. She can't save Mariah anymore. So, the next best person is Daniel. What are your thoughts? Do you agree that Mariah's separation from Tessa was messy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal there are 3 must-see moments for the week of June 23rd, 2025. Fans can expect Sharon Newman and Phyllis Summers to be reminded of their trauma. Holden Novak gets closer to Claire Grace Newman. Plus, Amanda Sinclair tries to warn Cain Ashby Aristotle Dumas about Victor Newman. Keep reading, and let's talk about what is coming up in the CBS soap opera. Let's start off with Sharon and Phyllis Summers, who are in Nice together at Dumas's chateau. At some point during the week of June 23rd, Phyllis and Summers get reminded of their trauma. It happens while they are in the hedged maze, where both women get a creepy feeling that brings them back to Martin Laurent's psychological torment. Back in Genoa City, Claire won't be able to get a hold of Kyle Abbott due to no service. Kyle was trying to find a signal to reach out to Claire, but was unable to. Meanwhile, Claire is probably worried about Kyle as well as Cole Howard's hospitalization. At some point, Claire needs help. Holden just happens to come to her rescue. Then, the two sit down and have a drink together. Could they become closer as Kyle deals with Audra Charles' trap? The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that another must-see moment centers on Amanda. It seems that Amanda is romantically intertwined with Cain. Amanda tries to warn him about Victor, and to be sure not to underestimate the powerful patriarch. However, Cain comments back that Victor is the one who has underestimated him. While Amanda and Cain are having a private conversation, Phyllis eavesdrops. At just the right moment, she makes her presence known and tries to butter up the tycoon. Phyllis purrs about how she would never do that to Dumas. While Phyllis is very good at what she does, I don't take Cain as the type of man who falls for that stuff easily. There is also mention of Chance Chancellor in the weekly preview clip. His role in this storyline is mysterious, but his name was mentioned for a reason, so stay tuned. In the upcoming episode of the CBS soap opera, The Young and the Restless, airing on June 24th, 2025, the party at the chateau in Nice will continue, but it will not be all fun and games. Abby Winters will finally show up, and she's in for a few surprises. She will run into Chance Chancellor and learn some shocking news about Aristotle Dumas. Tuesday's episode will be filled with big emotions, hidden agendas, and power moves. Victor Newman wants the full truth from Cain Ashby, while Jack and Nikki try to figure out what Cain is really planning. As more guests arrive, things get even more intense, and past relationships come back into focus during a very dramatic gathering. After staying behind to look after Dominic when he got sick, Abby finally arrives at the mountaintop party on The Young and the Restless. But her arrival isn't smooth. She's surprised to see Chance there, since she didn't know he was invited. Their meeting brings up old feelings and makes things a bit awkward. Before Abby can even take it all in, she gets caught up in the shocking news about who Dumas really is. Just as the party on The Young and the Restless starts to calm down, Lauren and Michael arrive at the perfect time, full of questions. They join Abby and Chance and quickly get pulled into the talk about Cain Ashby and who he really is. It doesn't take long for Lauren and Michael to realize that there's much more going on than what people say. Jack and Nikki take the chance to share what they know about Cain. Both of them have had strange or uneasy moments with him, and now they're putting the pieces together. As they talk, they start to notice some red flags. Nikki doesn't trust Cain's sudden return or his plans, and Jack wonders if Cain is running some kind of scam. Their team-up could cause serious problems for Cain. Victor's private talk with Cain starts to heat up, and Victor isn't pulling any punches. He's very suspicious about why Cain wants to trade such a big part of his business empire just to get control of the Chancellor. Victor doesn't buy the idea that it's only because Cain is grieving or wants a fresh start. Even though Colin's death may shake Cain, Victor thinks there's a bigger reason behind all of this. He feels Cain is hiding something important. As the conversation gets more intense, Cain might end up being forced to admit at least part of the truth. Now that more guests at the party know who Aristotle Dumas really is, the tension on The Young and the Restless starts to rise. Everyone is trying to figure out what Cain is really up to. Was he lying as part of a bigger plan? Or is he honestly trying to leave his past behind? Either way, Abby, Chance, and the others start to wonder if they ever really knew the man who's suddenly back in their lives. Spoilers for the upcoming week's episodes of The Young and the Restless from June 23rd, 2025 to June 27th, 2025 reveal that things will take a dramatic turn for the residents of Genoa City. Spoilers reveal that the aftermath of Aristotle Dumas's real identity will follow, and Lily Winters will not take the news well. Tessa Porter will go to Daniel Romalotti Jr. for support after her separation from Mariah Copeland. In addition to these developments, Audra Charles and Kyle Abbott will spend some time together in France, while Claire Newman will end up running into Holden Novak. In the upcoming week's episodes of The Young and the Restless from June 23rd, 2025 to June 27th, 2025, spoilers reveal that a huge fiasco will follow after the revelation of Aristotle Dumas's true identity in Nice, France. As per the spoilers, all signs point to the fact that Cain Ashby is the one behind creating Aristotle's mysterious persona. Spoilers reveal that Cain Ashby and Amanda Sinclair will be revealed to be a couple, and Lily Winters will have a lot of new things to wrap her head around. Lily will find out that Aristotle Dumas is her former husband, and his new love interest is Amanda. Lily will have a meltdown that will have some adverse effects on her health, and spoilers reveal she will end up either collapsing or getting a panic attack. Victor Newman had earlier declared that he knew about Dumas's identity beforehand and would not end up being surprised by the big revelation. Both Tessa Porter and Mariah Copeland will suffer from the aftermath of their separation in the upcoming week's episodes of The Young and the Restless. Tessa Porter will lean on Daniel Romalotti Jr. for support, and he will provide her with a safe space to open up about her separation from Mariah Copeland. Spoilers reveal that since it had not been Tessa's idea to break up with Mariah, she would be extremely hurt and upset. Meanwhile, Mariah will try to work through everything that had happened on her business trip and her decision to split up with Tessa. In the coming week's episodes of The Young and the Restless, Audra Charles and Kyle Abbott will spend time with each other in France and sunbathe together. Audra will ask Kyle's permission before lathering him up with some Jabot birthday suit sunscreen. Claire Newman will end up running into Holden Novak unexpectedly, but he will be the one who thinks that he is lucky. Spoilers reveal that Claire and Holden will end up sharing some drinks with each other and get closer. The Young and the Restless spoilers and updates reveal the show is preparing for a significant twist in Nice. A deadly whodunit is on the horizon with an unexpected victim at the heart of the drama. But who will it be? Before Damien Cain departed for France, Amy Lewis embraced him in a spine-tingling hug that sparked worries. This moment fueled speculation that Damien might not return from this journey alive. Yet, this alone doesn't confirm that Damien is destined to be the murder victim. What if Amy sensed that chill merely because Damien was stepping into a perilous situation? From a narrative perspective, perhaps the intention was more about creating an atmosphere for the eerie gathering ahead. Amy might have simply played her role in captivating fans and heightening their anxiety about the challenges the party attendees would encounter. Considering this, we ought to entertain the idea that the victim in the whodunit could be someone entirely different. With Chance Chancellor set to join the festivities, there's certainly a new potential victim in the mix. In the weekly preview video, Chance's arrival at the party sparks a discussion among Jack Abbott, Diane Jenkins Abbott, Billy Abbott, and Sally Spectra. The four characters are shown deliberating on the possible reasons Cain Ashby may have had for inviting Chance. Among all the invitees, Jack will emphasize that Chance is the most notable one. Could this new emphasis on Chance indicate that he might be the one who doesn't make it through what's coming? It's worth noting that there's increasing talk about Connor Floyd potentially joining Days of Our Lives as a recast for Chad DiMera. If Floyd is indeed coming to duel as Chad, he will be taking over Billy Flynn's previous role. Floyd could be landing a new contract with the soap, which makes the idea of killing off Chance on Y&R reasonable. The recurring Chance isn't contributing much these days besides being a cop. However, Chance is an important character who could evoke strong emotions if he meets a tragic end. It appears that Chance would be an ideal candidate for a murder victim. The Young and the Restless spoilers and updates reveal that Lily Winters has been burdened with a significant amount of heartbreak regarding her memories of Cain Ashby. Sadly, it becomes clear that Cain is merely intensifying Lily's anguish and anger with this entire Aristotle Dumas spectacle, not helping matters at all. In the episode aired on June 20th, the truth finally hit home for Lily, leading her to understandably react explosively to Cain's revelation about his double life. It's evident that Cain has significant issues to resolve if he ever wants to truly apologize for all the deceit and the resulting confusion and pain he's caused Lily. Being the father of Lily's children means they still share a family bond, even though their children are grown and in college. Lily rightfully deserved to be aware of Cain's true actions, especially since he's been secretly amassing a massive empire worth billions without her knowledge. Nevertheless, Billy Flynn's first appearance in this role might open doors for a new beginning. This marks a fresh start for Cain, and may also pave the way for a revival of Cain's most significant past romance. Naturally, Lily has been developing a closer bond with Damian Cain recently, but their connection lacks excitement and appears not to be designed for the long haul. Should Damian fall victim to a fatal mystery, it would prevent Lily from envisioning a future with him. Regarding Cain, Y&R Spoilers had earlier suggested that his true relationship with Amanda Sinclair was set to come to light. This speculation fueled discussions about a potential romantic link between Cain and Amanda. Currently, Amanda remains only Cain's lawyer and confidant. The show hasn't revealed any fresh details about Cain and Amanda's relationship, but we'll see how things develop. Nevertheless, Lily is arguably Cain's one true love, and the same applies to her as well. By reintroducing Cain to the show, Y&R might be paving the way for his eventual reunion with Lily. The journey to that point may be long and complicated, but Lily and Cain could definitely find their way back to one another. It's simply a matter of rebuilding trust and determining a new direction after all the Dumas chaos concludes. Are you hoping for a reunion between Cain and Lily? Will Lily go for something new or for something comfortable? Cain Ashby revealed himself as Aristotle Dumas on The Young and the Restless. He wanted to speak with Lily, who was beside herself, to say the least. Lily has taken an interest in Damian, who's a little rough around the edges. It could take some time for her to soften his heart. Lily might want to go back to what feels familiar, even if Cain himself has changed. Lily and Cain were married with kids. They were one of the golden daytime couples on television. Or so it seemed. Their marriage fell apart due to Cain's continued lies and deceptions. Lily divorced him when he posed as his dead twin Caleb in order to trick her and others. Cain is back to his old tricks. Once again, he's trying to deceive Lily and others. He convinced everyone that he was this reclusive billionaire who barely goes out of the house. He hasn't learned from his past mistakes. Cain has lied to Lily many times in the past. His return could reopen an old trauma wound and cause her to keep a distance from him. Damian is also not what he seems. Y&R viewers learned that Damian was an imposter. The real Damian revealed himself as Nate's half-brother. Other than that, he's been honest about everything in his life, including his past with Dumas and his feelings for Lily. She might want to consider having something new. Lily's been through too much heartbreak, whether that involves deception or infidelity. Although Damian has never fallen in love, he seems devoted to her. We like watching their dynamic on the show. We're hoping that Lily and Damian's romantic connection will turn into a slow burn, in which Damian will fall in love for the first time. Lily will likely find herself in the middle of these two men. Damian already has a complicated past with Cain. He realized that he had worked for this guy in the past. What are your thoughts? Do you think Lily and Cain will get back together? Or do you think that Lily will end up with Damian? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section.